Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Yeah. Woo! The good news is I'm still kind of amped from Wednesday morning protesting at my kids' school for the Red for Ed movement. We need funding not only for teachers, but we need to raise the per pupil spending here in Arizona. It's abhorrent. And we need to support our staff because it takes a village, right, to raise these kids. So my name is Jarod Raithel. I've been involved in wildlife research in some way, shape, or form for over 2 decades. My graduate work in the early 2000s, we went out and we actually, go figure, measured the cause-specific mortality of calf elk in the Blackfoot Valley, Montana, as the gray wolf was moving in and recolonizing, the vilified gray wolf. It turns out the big bad gray wolf doesn't eat as many elk calves as certain parties would have you believe. I went on and I led a field crew in Louisiana. We translocated some of the very last Louisiana black bears. It's a subspecies. They're super amazing. They have long snouts. They're evolved to eat acorns. We moved them. My wife and I spent some time in Thailand after the tsunami, and we assessed coral reef health up and down the Andaman coast. And most recently, I've been working on some population modeling for the densest population of black bears in the lower 48. Where is it? Where is the densest population of black bears in the lower 48 United States? Yellowstone? Yosemite? Northwestern New Jersey, 30, 40 miles outside of New York City. They're living on trash, right? So I've been thinking about these issues for decades, and I like to think that I've got somewhat of a unique perspective. When I teach young people, I often start with a quote from Aldo Leopold. He says, "One of the penalties of an ecological education is that one lives alone in a world of wounds. Much of the damage inflicted on land is quite invisible to the layman. An ecologist must either harden his shell and make believe that the consequences of science are none of his business, or he must be the doctor who sees the marks of death in a community that believes itself well and does not want to be told otherwise." As the world spins madly on, I wonder how many in the halls of power are aware that Sudan, the very last male northern white rhino, died last month. That the West African black rhino went extinct in 2011. It's gone, extinct, it's gone forever. The Yangtze River dolphin was declared extinct in 2007. This is a freshwater dolphin that lived in that watershed for 20 million years. It's gone. The Pyrenean ibex with those massive curly horns, extinct in 2000. And I missed it, the beloved Monteverde golden toad hasn't been seen in a Costa Rican cloud forest since 1989. And then there's the 100 Heartbeats Club. There's less than 60 Amur leopards left on planet Earth. There's maybe 250 cross-river lowland gorillas. Right down south in the Sea of Cortez, the vaquita, the little sea cow, it's less than 30. It likely goes extinct this year or next. So what do? We're here in the midst of the planet's 6th great extinction crisis. We are hurtling into the age of the Anthropocene, where we dominate the ecology and the evolutionary processes on this planet. I don't know what to do. I've struggled with it for years. Recently, I had my students watch the hashtag human interview with Jane Goodall. And the interviewer asks her what she does, and she doesn't say that, I'm a trailblazing primatologist, I'm an inspiration for young girls to grow up and be scientists. Jane simply looks at the camera and she says, "I give people hope." So last year I hung up my field boots and I began teaching in the West Valley at Estrella Mountain Community College. And I stand before you today because these young students that I've had the honor to work with over the past year, they've given me hope. They've spent months systematically observing a bald eagle nest, monitoring nestling behavior, and just yesterday, this is the most southerly breeding bald eagle pair in all of North America, right? It's right here in the valley. Yesterday we had a snag. The high winds knocked a snag over on the nest, pushed out a nestling. My students were watching. We got a biologist out there. They're building artificial burrows for burrowing owls, working with a local nonprofit, Wild at Heart Raptors. Woo! They recently removed 33 bags of garbage and 8 spare tires from Tres Rios down at the Base Meridian Wildlife Area. They've started a reptile outreach program. They call it the Animal Ambassadors Program. And they go to local elementary schools and bring snakes, and they're teaching young people that snakes and reptiles and arthropods, even rattlesnakes, that they're important to the health of the Sonoran Desert and us African primates that now call it home. So these students, they're not driven by the monetary. It's a passion. It's an internal compass that recognizes that social justice and environmental justice, they go hand in hand. I know the revolution tent over there recognizes that if we better distribute wealth, not only here in this country, but around the world, we save habitats. If we lift people up, we save habitats. If we save habitats, we save species. So an ecological education inflicts some wounds, certainly some guilt. If you live here in the Western world and consume the way that I do, becoming an ecological educator, and we can all be ecological educators by modeling that conservation ethic that we cherish. When you take that step, suddenly one doesn't feel so alone. So thank you for being here today and showing your support and standing out in the hot sun and empathizing with me as we think about how best to make room for the other sentient beings here on Spaceship Earth that have just as much right to be here as we do. Thanks. Namaste.